Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's Dietitian Jackie, and today we're gonna dive into what's a healthy and safe weight loss timeline. It's a question I get all the time, so we're gonna dive in and really break that down. But first, please subscribe to my channel if you've not done so already, and hopefully at the end of this video, you will have found the content helpful. Maybe you learned something new, maybe you got a burst of motivation. Please hit that like button, as it does help me to create more content for you. And that is, of course, my goal, to help support you along your health and wellness journey, whether that is to improve your eating habits, improve your general lifestyle, or reduce body fat and lose weight. So let's dive in. Okay, so we're gonna go through a few very common questions that I typically get, and I may throw in just some of my own just to fill in the gaps. But the first question is, how much weight can you expect to lose per week if you're on a weight loss journey? This is a really common question because we want to know what to expect as we start maybe a certain eating plan, or we've reduced our calorie intake, or maybe we're visiting with a nutrition professional like a dietitian, and we want to know what to expect. So a typical healthy rate of weight loss is around, some folks say 1/2 pound, but you could go 1 to 2 pounds per week. And this is really a gradual process that allows you to lose weight, but also allows you to preserve lean muscle mass. Now, it's important to note that anytime you lose weight, a little bit of muscle does go with it, or it could be a lot of muscle depending on your technique, depending on many variables on the method of weight loss plan, if you will, that you choose to follow. So the next question that naturally follows is, what are different factors that can affect that timeline? And there will be lots of different factors. Remember that weight loss is a complex process, and it's influenced by lots of different variables. So your age, your activity level, your personal current metabolism, your diet quality, sleep, stress levels, any medical conditions that you might have. And that's a big one, right? So, and of course, consistency. Genetics also plays a role. So there are lots of factors that are going to influence the rate of your weight loss, right? And so one factor that's really often overlooked, or at least I find, is that your starting weight does impact how much weight initially you lose. So someone that has a lot more weight to lose versus someone that doesn't have as much weight. So you could, just to give you some examples, let's say you're someone that has more than 20 pounds to lose. Maybe you're like 30, 40, 50 pounds or even more. In the beginning of your journey, you probably will lose a little bit faster, so closer to that 2, maybe even a little bit beyond the 2 pound per week mark, versus someone who's losing maybe just wants to lose 10 pounds. The rate of weight loss will be slower. And so what will happen over time is, even that person who has a lot more weight to lose, that will stabilize over time. So after that initial reduction of water weight, and definitely a few pounds of fat mass and some muscle, as we mentioned, and we're going to go into that in a minute, how we preserve lean muscle, that will stabilize. So you'll eventually get into that 1 to 2 pound per week mark. The main thing to remember is that everyone's weight loss or fat loss journey is going to be different. And so there really is no one size fits all approach. Nutrition, whether you're trying to lower cholesterol, manage blood sugar, reduce body weight, reduce body fat, your approach or plan might be slightly different than someone else's based on all of the factors that we mentioned initially in the beginning of this particular section. So let's move on to our next question. And the next question is, why should people be weary of drastic weight loss or crash diets? So I don't even know if people call them crash diets anymore. I think that's maybe an old school kind of term, but I still hear it here and there. Oftentimes I more hear like fad diets or something to that effect, but it doesn't matter what you call it. I think you get the point. The point is that any severe restriction would indicate some kind of like drastic measures or crash diet. So I always like to remind my clients that fast and drastic weight loss doesn't equal sustainable results. And so crash diets may cause a rapid weight loss initially, and most definitely they usually do, but it typically leads to that muscle loss that I was referring to earlier, which can really slow down your metabolism. So that's why we don't want that. And on top of that, crash diets can cause nutrient deficiencies depending on what method you go with. And there's lots of ways to skin this cat. I say that a lot when it comes to weight loss because there is. But you can end up feeling super fatigued. You could even develop certain medical issues like gallstones. That's not fun. One of the hallmarks, I think, of crash diets is usually severe calorie restriction. That is almost always the way that people are losing weight with a crash diet. So it doesn't matter if you're eliminating carbs, if you're just going with shakes or pre-made meals. The cornerstone, the reason why they work is because there's a severe drop in calories. And so what I often see is this severe rebound of weight because the restriction often leads to major cravings, binging, even some disordered eating, and none of that is fun, or none of that is something that is sustainable, right? If we're not having fun, if we're not enjoying our new lifestyle, our new way of eating, how are we going to keep up with it? So in the end, any weight that you would have lost is just going to come tumbling back, because as soon as you're done with your diet rules and you go back to your original way of eating because you haven't learned anything new, then of course that weight that you've lost is going to come back. So what I like to say is, if the weight that you lost is regained, then you really never lost weight to begin with. And so the next logical question is, well, then why are these crash diets so harmful in the long run, right? Why are fad diets harmful? If maybe I can lose weight short term and that's all I'm looking for, then what's the big deal, right? And that's valid to a degree, but let's break down why this is just not a good idea. So most crash diets or fad diets, whatever you want to call them, have you consuming a lot fewer calories than your body actually needs for healthy weight. And so these types of diets often cut out entire food groups, like I mentioned, carbohydrate, or drastically reduces your calorie intake, which is essentially what that other diet's doing anyway, which can result in missing essential nutrients, vitamins, minerals. Fiber in particular is a really big one, which is key for digestive health, and also keeping your microbiome healthy and well balanced. And this can actually weaken your immune system over time and also compromise bone health. So this style of dieting or this method of weight loss is just not healthy for you over the long term. And I think that we're getting into finally an age or a time period where people are starting to think of their health as living longer in a healthier body. I feel like we're not as obsessed with being skinny as maybe like 20, 30 years ago. I think that was like in fashion. So I am happy that I'm starting to hear people be more cognizant or mindful of wanting to live in a healthier body for a longer period of time. So with that said, these crash diets are just not supporting that idea. So getting back to our muscle loss, which is a major problem for long-term health, by the way, but some muscle loss is almost inevitable during weight loss, but crash diets really can deplete you so much that muscle breakdown happens at a higher rate. This only weakens your body even more, but also slows down your metabolism. And that's where people get into trouble. This is the opposite of what you want, because as you start to slow down your metabolism, or your body adapts to this new calorie level, that's really what it is. It's called metabolic adaptation. Your body's simply adapting to this new calorie level. Then it becomes more difficult to lose weight over time. Eating too few calories leads to fatigue. It can make it hard to stay active, right? If you're not eating enough and you're really tired and constantly fatigued, and PS, you're not sleeping well now because of this reduction in intake, it raises stress hormones like cortisol. Now this is causing your body to actually store fat in the long run. So it is just a messy situation for your body. And a lot of times I really think many people that I've worked with or that I've spoken to about fat loss and how it works is I think we need a lot less calories than we really do to start losing weight. When I work with my clients, I initiate what I would consider a modest calorie reduction, maybe like 350 calories off their baseline. And a lot of times that's enough. So it doesn't make you crazy or make you feel like you're so starving that you can't stay consistent with your eating plan. I've spoken to so many women and men who have really suffered emotionally from this dieting roller coaster. And this is something that I could even relate to on a personal level, this binge and restrict cycle that becomes really vicious in nature and often leads to disordered eating patterns. And it's just not necessary for a sustainable long-term approach to weight management. You really don't have to get involved in this severe restriction cycle. You can still lose body fat and reduce weight by eating in a healthful way with just a modest reduction in your calorie intake. All right, so our next question, a 1 to 2 pound weight loss is considered a healthy range according to most experts. Why? So yes, I would agree that I subscribe to that 1 to 2 pound weight loss per week as a healthy range for weight loss. And the reason why that is because it is a gradual approach that allows you to implement and create new habits that stick. So it's just a more sustainable way to lose weight. It also, getting back to, I know it's like, are you muscle obsessed? Yes, I am. It also allows you to preserve a little bit more muscle mass as you're going through your weight loss journey. By following a more modest caloric deficit rather than a severe one, it allows you to stick to your eating plan with more consistency, right? Because a more severe or bigger calorie deficit is going to create a lot more hunger or hanger versus a window that's just a little bit smaller. And so you may think, well, it's going to take me longer to lose weight. Yeah, but don't you want to lose weight and keep it off? No one wants to. I don't know why you would want to lose 20 pounds in a month and then regain those 20 pounds. But if it took you 3 months to lose those 20 pounds and now you're maintaining that for an extended period of time, that's much better for your health and your mental well-being. And so that's why I really encourage you to have a more modest caloric deficit rather than a bigger one. You will feel better. You'll be a lot happier supporting that mental well-being. This also allows you to stay more active. So if you're feeling better, you're naturally going to have a lot more energy and you'll be able to implement a fitness plan that will further enhance your results. Our next question, what's the healthiest and safest way to start losing weight? Okay, so there's no magic bullet. I recently had a client who, at the end of our session, was really, I'll be quite honest, she was like, so that's it? It's really just a balanced eating plan and just eating less food or less calories. And she was really shocked that I didn't have some like magical bullet or some secret that I was like withholding from people through my communications through social media or my newsletters. There's no secret. It is a balanced eating plan that puts you in a slight caloric deficit that allows you to reduce body fat or lose weight. A successful weight loss program encourages healthy habits that you can sustain for a lifetime, not that you could sustain for 1 month or 6 weeks or even 8 weeks. This is a journey. This is something that you need to embrace for the long term. So the faster that you create those healthful habits that you can stick with, the more successful you will be in not only losing weight, but maintaining that weight loss for the long term. I totally understand that we are all looking for a quick fix. I'm right there with you. I wish there was one, but there isn't. The most effective and sustainable approach to weight loss is truly being in a slight caloric deficit while prioritizing protein, getting enough fiber. Remember, I always recommend at least 25 grams. You may need more, but at least 25 grams. eating a balanced diet of foods that you like, right? So not following some piece of paper that tells you to eat foods that maybe you never eat or you don't even enjoy. The more enjoyment that you have in your eating plan to support your health goals, again, the more likely you are to stick with it and the more likely you are to see those goals come true. Let's wrap this up with our final question. And this question is, why do you think so many people expect to drop 20 pounds immediately, like at a drop of a hat, and they don't always stay the course with a healthful eating plan and even may turn their head to that because it just doesn't seem sexy enough, right? Well, I think that it's obvious to a degree when we start thinking about how much misinformation we have out in our world. So we live in this media dominant era where people are displaying their weight loss and fat loss successes, but maybe they're telling us that the timeline was a lot shorter than it really was. Or to our conversation earlier, maybe they are embarking on these super restrictive crash diets that are allowing them to lose weight in a really short amount of time, but they're not telling you about the weight regain that they had later down the road. I think that many of us have major unrealistic expectations around what true weight loss and true fat loss looks like, but more importantly, what sustainable fat loss looks like. I think that we are viewing images and we're seeing people through social media that look like they have it all, but maybe we don't know the effort that's gone into it, or maybe it's not even real, right? So we have to always approach things with a very open mind and remember that just because it was really quick and just because this person maybe that you're viewing saw a lot of success in a short time, again, doesn't mean that they're able to keep it off for a longer period of time. So I think that sometimes we need a little tough love and understand that healthy weight loss just takes time, and it's okay that it takes time. It can feel discouraging when we don't see the progress that we're hoping to see, but you have to stay the course. I'm sure you've heard the term trust the process, and I personally don't love that term, but there's no other way to say that you have to just trust that eating a healthful, balanced eating plan, being physically active, choosing the right amount of healthy proteins, eating enough vegetables. I don't know any society in the world that discounts the power of that style of eating. The nations in our world that have the longest longevity are those that truly eat a balanced eating plan. They're not eating processed foods. They're not even counting calories, right? So it has, less to do about obsessing over, logging and worrying about every pound, which is something that we obsess with a lot in the United States, I think anyway. Maybe I'm going off on a tangent, but the point is that if you really think about eating a simple diet, so single ingredients, whole foods, really reducing your processed food intake, I think that just the nature of you changing your whole lifestyle without even documenting your calories, I've seen many people achieve their weight and fat loss goals through that method simply by improving the quality of their diet. So there's no quick fix, there's no magic bullet. Patience, consistency, combined with realistic goals, it's what's going to get you there over the long term. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, any area that you thought was interesting or thought-provoking, or maybe you have experience with, feel free to drop it in the comments. Thank you so much for joining me today on, I think, this very important topic. And if you liked the content today, please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, and I look forward to seeing you next time.